It is finished. The run of the Oakland Coliseum is over. It ends with a 104-mile-an-hour pitch from rookie Mason Miller. That probably doesn't sound like good news for Rangers fans. It isn't. But we do have some coming up next on the DLLS Rangers Postgame podcast. Somehow that line, so long, farewell, seems more final to us, to me. And they said farewell today to the Oakland Coliseum, a place they'd played baseball for 57 years. They started playing football there 59 years ago. And now there are no major professional sports teams that call the Oakland Coliseum home. Hi there, and welcome into the DLLS Rangers post-game podcast. Of course, the Rangers were a part of that final game, that final series in Oakland. John Radigan here with Abby Jones, Jeff Wilson. We've got the Prophet over here taking care of business for us, and of course, it's J-Dub, Abs, and Rads for those of you who are familiar with us, and we appreciate you hanging out with us. 3-2, the Rangers lose. That, of course, is the bad news. The good news is, at least so far, when we came down from watching the game upstairs,
the place
and the coverage,
is standing.
And nobody even
so
rushed
far.
the field. The A's players went out to the mound, and it appeared as though they were setting up for some post-game thank yous and sort of honor of that crowd of 46,889.
I figured there was going to be some sort of ceremony,
Yeah.
so we will have to see. But something funny that I just kind of thought of, my dad closed out Tiger Stadium in 1999, and Mason Miller closed out this game with a 104-mile-an-hour fastball. I said, hey, Dad, just out of curiosity, what was your final pitch? And he said that it was a curveball strikeout to Carlos Beltran, and he was 76 miles an hour. So the times have changed quite a bit. I mean, 104 to close out for the rookie.
You know what I love is that again, I get it. That was a monumental moment, too, because Tiger Stadium was so beloved. But that your dad remembers exactly who the hitter was and exactly what the pitch was.
They all do.
And I imagine if you had said to him, hey, in May of 99, when you faced the Royals, what did George Brett was done by then, but, whatever. What did the guy hit off of you?
No, literally, the first time I met A-Rod, it was during the Mavs Western Conference Finals run. I introduced myself. They were teammates at USA, and he was like, "Oh yeah, it was a 3-2 count, and your dad threw a pitch, and I had a grand slam off of him." And I'm like, "It's the second thing out of your mouth, A-Rod."
Right.
But
That's A-Rod.
that is just how baseball players work. I think they remember
Did you
everything.
fact check him though and check with your dad?
Yeah, it's on the internet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Just making sure.
Yeah, no, I dapped him up, and I was like, that was a good one. But yeah, what a day for Mason Miller. We've talked about his success. He's 27 saves, which is the most in majors.
Was that 28 now?
28, which bumps it up even more, most among rookies in the major leagues. So that's quite a good memory for Mason Miller to have.
No doubt, and not a great way for the Rangers to end it, but I think, like me, Jeff, you were sitting there as a guy who's covered this team for a long time. Somehow it's fitting, isn't it, that you don't like to see the Rangers lose, but it's fitting that the Athletics win this final game.
Yeah, I've seen 100 games there, and it seems like the A's win a lot of the getaway day games, and it was a good game. A sun ball. Another thing that will no longer happen in that ballpark, a sun ball cost the Rangers the game, basically, or at least a chance to go to extra innings. But it's if you want to have a feel-good story and the best-case outcome for the fans and to keep people from going crazy on the field or anything like that, then an A's win is probably what MLB even wanted, for just the sanctity of player safety and getting the teams out, because they do have another series remaining this weekend, and they both have to travel and go catch a flight and all that stuff. But happy fans. It was a happy ending for Oakland, and really, there were good things that happened for the Rangers, and we'll get to those in a minute.
Yeah, we will. And look, the overall day, the tenor of the day was, from everything we could tell, celebratory. And I love that. Celebrating baseball, right? Celebrating history and celebrating a franchise that, in this day and age, it's just hard to imagine. And I'm the only one probably in this building old enough to remember that 72, 73, 74 run. And I was back then a huge Tigers fan. And I'm telling you, it was lights out when Oakland came to town. You knew it. They had everything covered. And it was one of those, for a Midwest kid, I was like, wow. Oakland, California. It was thought of as sort of a model franchise. Now, of course, at that time, I don't know anything about owners like Charlie Finley or any of those things, but all I could see was this wonderful baseball team that wore green and yellow. How cool, right? And so, even for me, there's a sadness today that the Oakland Athletics will no longer exist. We hear, of course, that they're going to carry the Athletics with them. They had it in Philadelphia in the early 1900s. They took it to Kansas City with them and then took it to Oakland. So I guess short term, they'll be the Sacramento Athletics.
Doesn't
or maybe just the Athletics.
Sound the same.
I don't know. It's
California Athletics, maybe.
It's different, and it's going to take some getting used to. But, you talk about the early 70s, that team had Reggie Jackson, Vida Blue Moon Odom, and Sal Bando, Joe Rudy, and
Catfish
Bert
Hunter.
Campaneris, Catfish Hunter, guys who either ended up in the Hall of Fame or really good major leaguers. I mean, speaking of Tiger Stadium, Reggie in one of the All-Star games, 71, hit the ball out of the ballpark, light tower, hit it almost out of the stadium, and they were studs. I mean, the only team who's won 3 straight World Series since is the Yankees there in the late 90s. So that tells you how good Oakland was. And, they had some good teams since then. They won the World Series in '89. But, whether it's the way that payrolls have taken off in free agency, where the big market teams have the huge advantages, they were handcuffed, with payroll and, Moneyball worked because they're being cheap, and whether that wasn't John Fisher at the time, it might have been Lou Wolf, but the point is that this franchise has always, in the last 25, 30 years, struggled to compete because they're in a small market, and these owners do make all their money at the back end when they sell the team, but they still have to run it like a business, and whether they're rich or not, they still have employees to take care of, and all that stuff to make the franchise work, and costs, and so it's just a tough place to run a franchise.
Yeah, it really is, but you have to run the business better, right? The better you run it, any business, the more profitable that business becomes, and certainly the more you would make on the back end. The franchise right now is at its probably lowest value that it could be, because it's now moving to an even smaller market where they won't even be able to draw, even if they had a great team, they won't be able to draw enough people to make any significant money on ticket sales. There were, as we mentioned, 46,889 people there today, and the other side of the argument against John Fisher is, where were all you people when we needed you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if this is that nostalgic of a deal, where were you? Why weren't you showing up? And again, lately, there are many reasons for that. For the last 2 years, it's obvious they knew the team was leaving.
Right. And John, you've been there many times, and I kind of made this when we were watching. How many times was that ballpark upgraded?
Almost never.
A ballpark that ownership did not own. That's on the county.
Yeah.
And if the county had wanted the club to stay, throw them a bone. Say, hey, we can do this for look at what Kansas City did for Arrowhead Stadium, or not Arrowhead Stadium, but Kauffman Stadium. Arrowhead had some upgrades too, but that's the situation where you can say, hey, we can't afford a new ballpark. Voters, in fact, just turned down the voting for one, but we can really do a nice job renovating this place for you. And Kauffman Stadium is a much, much different place than it was 12 years ago. So it could have been done. Both sides could have done more. Ownership really could have done more, from everything that has come out. But I again, like I said pregame, I don't just think this is solely at the feet of John Fisher.
Do you want to know something kind of sad I just realized?
Tell us.
I looked up the total attendance from 2022. 9,000 fans were in attendance on average
per game.
In 2022.
Yeah.
The last 3 years, they've been dead last in stadium attendance. It's actually gone up 1,000 each year since 2022. So 9,000, then the next year 10,000, and then the final year 11,000. So there was a slight increase of 1,000 people per game since it was the final year.
They're getting big dates like this one, or like that last Yankees series that helped skew it up.
I'm saying, but even fans that knew this whole season there was going to be a final game, the attendance was still 11,000 per game.
Right.
Less than 1 million fans throughout the entire season.
Do you have the whole list there in front of you? Like, what does 15 and 16 look like?
I can take a look
grabbing
at
15.
them.
Just, scatter shooting and wondering, what if 15
All right, 15, there was 21,000 per game, 1.7 million throughout the year, and then 16, there were 18,000, 1.5 throughout the year.
Yeah,
I mean, the Rangers had 32.
Yeah.
Average 32,000.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And sure, they're coming off the World Series and they have the nice new ballpark. But, man, the marketing, stadium upgrades, things that could have kept the club there, or at least kept them negotiating and talking about it, didn't take place.
They didn't, and it's a very complicated issue, and it's one of the things that Marcus Simeon was talking about with us as we chatted with him before they left on this trip. And Marcus actually said, there's no deal officially done for the financing to build a stadium in Las Vegas. So I'm not going to lie, he said that he thinks there's a chance. You're saying there's a chance. He thinks there's a chance that after Sacramento, the A's come back to Oakland. And that sentiment is somewhat pervasive around Oakland right now.
Yeah.
Maybe it's their last thing they can cling to in
Might
terms
be.
of hope.
Yeah, it's clinging to hope.
Like a delusional.
You can talk about how the Las Vegas is trying to take money away from teachers and all of that stuff. I think Las Vegas politics has a way of getting things done.
Yeah.
Historically, I'm sure that everything will work out. I'm not sure, but it seems like it's a done deal. I mean, the agreement with A's ownership and some of the city officials is in place. It just has to get past the state legislature, and in a city that is blue. I mean, Las Vegas definitely is not conservative. They're going to be against public financing for ballparks and things like that. But I think eventually this whole thing gets done.
On social media, it seems like they're letting coaching staff and players kind of do a farewell tribute.
Nice.
So things seem to be going smooth.
Yeah, and look, that is, that's a credit to the A's organization, and that's a credit to those fans. And we've said it, Jeff and I have talked about it many times, though they're few. The fans that are there are very good fans. They're into baseball. They can be a little annoying with their drums and their various activities, but that said, they're very good fans. They're fairly loyal fans. Again, it's just that the fan base, that sort of avid fan base, has just traditionally been too small.
Yeah.
Going back to the numbers you pointed out.
Sounds like 30,000 too small.
Well, yeah, it could be. Yeah. It could be for a ballpark like that, but the reality is they needed more. And then, of course, in this day and age in ownership, you need all the new revenue streams. People say to me all the time, why didn't they just put a roof on Globe Life Park or, what was the ballpark in Arlington? man, it was more than just air conditioning, right? It was about new avenues, new streams of revenue. And the Rangers have so many more of those in Globe Life Field. And I don't begrudge the owners that, and I never will, because I love that 72 degrees every damn day in that place.
I bring a sweatshirt even throughout the summer.
Did you?
But
Yeah.
my dad tells me every day, he's like, you have no idea how lucky you are that you're in an air-conditioned
Yeah.
park.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
stadium was miserable.
And you
Yeah.
play every game on time.
Yeah.
So fans can go. They don't
Yep.
have to have any doubt. They can go and know that the game's going to be played.
Yeah.
And that's big.
Speaking of games not played on time, we're going to come back a little later in the show and talk about two important games that have been rained out, postponed until Monday. We'll talk about that also coming up. How about we get to this game? We haven't really talked about it much, and the performance of Kumar Rocker. That is coming up too. But first, would you please do yourself a favor and get yourself some row-back gear? This
Row-back?
stuff is fantastic. I love her little, every one of them. You know, game time,
Game time.
row-back. Yeah, row-back is great, and it's the best gear for outside and for physical activities and for golf and for hiking. They have it all, and it's all fantastic looking. It's all well designed. You know how a lot of golf shirts, the collars just start going wonky on you? Not row-back. They've got this technology that keeps those collars nice and sturdy, and they keep them looking very good for you. So, and the wicking, I've talked about that before, pulling the sweat away. It's fantastic. Great colors, great designs, great size, great materials, great fit.
Great deals.
Great deals. And there's a team gear available for your favorite team. You want to avail yourself to Roback. And if you do and use the code DLLS20, you get 20% off your first order. It's worth it. It's great. It's Roback.
That was perfect.
And then, if you're going to look good, you want your floors to look good.
Yes.
It just doesn't make sense to have nice clothes in a dirt floor. So Empire Today is the place for you to get your carpeting or your hardwood floors. You get shop-at-home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee, which I always like. Empire Today is, if you've been around the area, it's the best place to get new flooring. Now, there are copycats out there, people trying to undercut what Empire does. But if you want the best, you got to be the best. And you want Empire Today. A lot of virtual floor designer to make it easier for you. Shopping at a big box store can be tough, but not at Empire. They pride themselves on convenient shop-at-home service. They service their own warranties, so if something gets messed up, they're fixing it. So here's your deal. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount
There.
when they use the promo code DLLS. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DLLS for details.
Empire Today? Doesn't hit the same.
No. I actually asked Tim Cato, our resident Empire Today lover, to sing for him.
Oh,
It
yeah.
wasn't him, actually. It was Bobby. Bobby's the singer
Bobby's here?
among us.
588-2300
Bobby could haul
Empire.
off and sing on you,
Today.
but that'll be for another show.
Jeff just did it. You missed it. Anyway, Kumar
did I
Rocker.
miss it?
Kumar Rocker, ladies and gentlemen.
Damn it. Yes, Kumar pitched a longer time than he has pitched in any game, 4 2/3 innings. And, on the television broadcast, Mike Bassick, a former pitcher himself, said solid. And I think that's maybe even an understatement. It might have been a tick better than solid.
Well, it just kind of comparing it to the last start, he was in the strike zone more. Yes, he gave up more hits, which is what happened when you're in the strike zone. He didn't walk anybody after walking 4 in the last start. He only struck out 2, but you know what? He was being democratic, spreading the outs around, and there was one out that didn't get made that ultimately led to a third earned run against him. I dispute that. It was a sun ball, yes, but the ball hit Wyatt Langford's glove, should have been an out, or should have been ruled an error because it should have been an out. The go-ahead winning run, as it turns out, scores. So, but a good outing. He almost got through 5 innings. He would have had Wyatt made that play. But I think he can go into the offseason feeling pretty good about this one. I did notice the velocity dipped as the game went a little bit longer. That's fine. he'll learn to hold those bullets in reserve, like Justin Verlander notoriously did, and all pitchers who know that's it. They still have a little bit of reserve there, but good, good for him. And after his first 3 starts, 3.86 ERA, more strikeouts than walks. Okay, that's good. And the biggest thing is a lot of experience. 3, like we talked about in the pregame, 3 kind of knee knockers. A major league debut on the road, the home debut, and then this one in front of 46,889, whatever it was, fans who were excited into the game, maybe a little bloodthirsty. Couldn't hear what they were saying, but I'm sure it was another one for him that when April rolls around, and if he's in the rotation, then he'll be able to handle that one a little bit better than these.
Yeah, I think so too, because, we mentioned this in his last game. I mean, he was even more controlled, it seemed like, in his third start. He finished with 73 total pitches. And, it seemed, I didn't really get to do a pitch by inning breakdown, but it did seem overall more controlled. He wasn't as jumpy as I kind of expected him to be a little jumpy, for maybe this one to be quote unquote the worst outing that he would have, just with the stress of the situation, the volume. I mean, we heard it through the TV. I can't even imagine how loud it was when you were in that moment. But I'm impressed with how he controlled himself today. 2 strikeouts, 1 on the fastball, 1 on the slider. He had a few well hit, 9 total, 10 total chased pitches as well, and 5 swings and misses. So, I think everything is going to be the sum total of his 2024 couple of starts, and these are a few good things that he can take into spring training, no doubt.
Well, and to your point, especially where he maintained that composure, I thought very well, was in that 3rd inning when he had the bases loaded, right? And if you're watching him and if you're reading body language on the mound and you're watching for, labored breathing or anything, there's none of that. None of it. And you might see that from any young pitcher in his 3rd start in a game like this, in an atmosphere like that. And he was just as calm as he could be. And he only allowed 2 of those runs. And as Jeff mentioned, he only allowed 2 of them to score. And as Jeff mentioned, one of them should have been an out. I mean, Wyatt Langford should have caught that ball. So, it's a pretty decent example of what this guy is prepared to do and prepared to be on the mound, which I think is, if nothing else, poised.
Yeah, if this is his benchmark, I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Definitely. I'm impressed.
Yeah, and there was a Jonathan Ornelas throw that did not go for an error. I guess the last home game, everybody's getting hits if you're the A's official score. Just some things that extended innings that kind of created some traffic for him, but for the most part, after 3 starts, you see the resolve and the mound presence, the things that aren't balls and strikes that impress the Rangers about Kumar. And I still think the slider probably wasn't as good as or the curveball wasn't as good as he would like it. But it's a pitch that ultimately is going to get a lot of swing and miss, especially if his fastball is spot on. That pitch is going to be really hard to hit.
He's also throwing it a lot less too. Like when his first started, it was almost a 50-50, and now it's kind of like a fastball 40% of the time, slider 32, and then a sinker.
Yeah.
The other 20.
If he's behind in the count, then maybe you got to come with your heater a little bit more. But we like it. And then he was replaced by Jack Leiter.
Yeah,
So,
I was going to say then there was a surprise after
Vanderbilt
that.
on Vanderbilt.
The 1-2 punch.
And to answer Natalie's question right off the top, will Leiter be in the rotation next year? I think at some point he will be in the rotation. I don't know if he'll be to start the year, depending on what happens at the offseason. But the Rangers need a starter for Sunday. The game notes say TBD or TBA, one of the TBs, and it made a lot of sense for it to be Leiter. Now he is now at 112 innings, so maybe that's the most he's thrown as a professional. So maybe they want to curtail how many pitches he threw. I guess he pitched 3 1/3 scoreless innings today. But if he's going to be a starting pitcher, why not give him a start? Or maybe they wanted to keep him on his schedule. Okay, that's fine too. I just think that a start would have served him better than a relief appearance. And, they might say, well, we needed him because the bullpen was short. Well, Dane Dunning could have gone in and done exactly that, filled that role of pitching multiple relief innings. So curious to hear what comes out of the postgame press conference with Bruce Bochy. I'm sure that it'll come up tomorrow pregame because I plan on asking about it in Anaheim. So we'll see. But Jack did pitch well, and in the eighth inning, he had to strand a guy at third with one out, and he did it. Got a pop up and a weak grounder. So good for him. And if this is it for him, I can't imagine him pitching the rest of the year. Then he goes into the offseason feeling good, and he did pitch better after getting recalled. Yes. I don't think there's any doubt about it. I know he had some rocky ones, but it was better. And don't give up on Jack Leiter yet. All right, he's still young, and all these guys come at their own time. So Jack's just fine.
And I think he's done well out of the pen too. I think he's done better out of the pen than in his starts.
Yeah, it's possible. But I thought his starts since he's been up here. Now, granted, one of them was against the White Sox.
Hey.
But they're still a major league team.
The Red Hot White Sox.
Yeah, how about that? Yeah, we'll get to that later too. So I don't know, but he hasn't been at all bad out of the pen, and he worked out of a couple jams today too, which I also like to see. Right? It's nice for a guy to have that pressure and that traffic, and then has to bear down. And I thought he showed ability. We'd see a little more heat coming out of him and out of the fastball when he really needed it, and all those things I think are positives for Jack Leiter as he goes forward. Look, the thing is, he wants to be a starter. Right. And he came here to be a starter. And Chris Young brought him here and wooed the family in many ways, Al included, to say, we're going to bring him in here and we're going to develop him as a starter. Now, if he completely spits the bit, which he hasn't, he may not have that opportunity. But I think that's the direction that he's headed.
Yeah, it's too early to give up on him as a starting pitcher.
I agree.
Yeah. It's way too early. And the Rangers know that. He'll have a shot. He'll compete for the rotation next year. But I do think that ultimately he could even make the team as a reliever, be a long reliever, pitch behind Kumar next year because Kumar is still going to be limited on his pitches. But I just don't give up on him just yet. It's very premature and short-sighted for fans to say that or want that to happen.
And just because he's in the pen now, doesn't mean that that's what he's going to be for his career.
No, right. This was designed.
Yeah,
and this is the way to get him innings with six starters in the rotation.
Designed because of DeGrom and Scherzer.
Exactly.
And, Jack took that and he says, this is a really, really good opportunity for me. I know exactly what is being asked of me at this position, and it's going to help me become a starter and become the starter that I want to be because it helped my dad. Early in his career, he started in the pen too. So it's I think that Jack, to me, seems more calm, and I definitely think you can just almost breathe when you're watching Jack come out of the pen. Yeah. I think when you watch him start, at least me, I'm like, okay,
he usually is.
Do good.
He does. He's a little nervous in that first inning that he pitches in his start.
Maybe the quality and the numbers itself aren't too different. I do think that the demeanor is different.
Well, okay, so first start was the White Sox. I think he gave up 3 and 4+. Next one was the Yankees. He ended up giving up 5, but pitched much better than that.
Yep.
Then he pitched in relief at Seattle, which was good. In relief against the Mariners at home last week, which was not good. And then today. So, 4 of his last 5 outings were pretty good.
Yeah, which is great. That's progress. And the reality is that one of the reasons I think he has that feeling that you're describing is the transparency within this organization, right? Chris Young,
for sure,
in his role, having been where they are, he knows, and he's so great about telling them, here's what we're going to do with you, Yeah. And we know for a fact he had told Travis Jankowski, actually at a very inopportune time, that they were going to have to let him go, right?
After the rivalry.
Yeah, right after that great catch in Chicago, as a matter of fact. And then he calls him in after that. He's like, oh no, the Grim Reaper. And then ultimately he makes it and stays with the team. But he does those things because it's the right thing anything to do with regard to a player so that the player knows where they stand. So many managers back in the day, and football coaches still do this to this day, they're stoic and they're the silent type, and they don't give you very many answers, and they play psychological games with you. That's not the way Chris Young leads this organization.
Or some players find out on Twitter.
Right, which is the
too.
worst.
Yeah.
The worst.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I think that's one of the reasons. I think Jack knows exactly what the plan, short term and long term,
And I
is
do
for
think
him.
when you know it's like a bump in the road, you look at it differently.
Sure.
You know, like because you know this isn't forever, you try to seize the day a little bit more. And I think that he has just a very different approach. I like this situation for Jack Leiter in 2024. Completely different answer for 2025, but we'll see when we get there.
Yeah, talk to us then.
Yeah.
We'll be talking to you then. There's no doubt about that. And we'll be talking about Rangers all off-season long. We look forward to that. The off-season isn't here quite yet, though. There's one more series. It is in Southern California where the Angels are up against it. We're going to talk about their plight coming up and also get to our batting cleanup and clean up some of the messes that are being made around Major League Baseball right now. But first, Abs, how about some sunglasses?
Shady Rays. You know who needed some Shady Rays today?
Oh, man.
Me.
No.
Oh.
Langford.
Oh, Wyatt Langford. Yeah.
Bunch of those players, actually.
He was
yeah.
wearing some, but they were not Shady Rays. I'll tell you one thing,
Right.
because if they were, he would have caught that ball. No, Shady Rays is our friends with great quality sunglasses. Great price. They are incredibly made. They're durable. They're cool. We have a few pairs coming in. I'm very excited to get mine. I got the the Bryce Harper, very fashion forward baseball.
All right.
Kind of look. So I'm going to be wearing those soon. But Shady Rays, I mean, they have so many variations. You can even get your team's color. These things will not break. They also have a clause, or help me with the word, Rads. They have a
Process.
no,
Guaranteed.
the guaranteed.
Thank you.
Yes, they have a money back guaranteed if you don't like what you got, but pretty sure you're going to like it. So go to shadyrays.com and use the code DLLS for 35% off.
35?
They give you 35.
Yeah.
Other places just give you 20,
That's a
and they
big
didn't want to do that.
discount.
Shady Rays, sharing is caring. Get a pair for you and get a pair for your friend because they're pretty affordable.
Yeah, they're great. Shady Rays are great. Sorry I didn't help you much,
It's
but
okay.
I need you to help me here because we're going to talk about
Game
what?
time?
Game time.
There you go.
Yes, we are. Game time.
There you go.
Trying to do it like Abs. Yeah, so this is a great app. So easy. Download it, and you will be happy. What's coming up? Oh, the Major League Baseball playoffs. And you're a fan of this team or that team. You know, Abby was saying already that if the Tigers make it to the World Series, she and her family are going to go.
booking
Her
a
dad
flight.
pitched there forever, right? Well, for that, and of course her dad played for the Tigers, so they may
Let's
not.
say he gets the car. No, he'll save his tickets for him. I will get on game
You'll
time.
need game time. You'll need game time because you're going to want to get those tickets. You want to get them for the best price, and you want to get that guarantee that they offer as well, right? They'll give you 110% if you find tickets that are cheaper than you can find on Game Time. So you want to go to Game Time and use the code DLLS, and you get, what is that one again? 20% off.
20.
20.
20% off.
$20.
your first
$20.
$20 off your first. I need prescription Shady Rays, and you get $20 off your first Game Time purchase. So we want you to do that. Thank you. We love you.
Yeah, I was saying I needed Shady Rays this morning because when I was taking my daughter to school, you're kind of at the time of the year now where the sun is lower in the sky and coming up later. And when I was backing out of the driveway and looked to the east, man, that's pierced my retinas. I mean, I was like, I can't see. So I need those sunglasses.
I tell you, I drive straight west home just after I get off the highway. I go down 35 and take a right. And if I'm there at just the right time, man, that sun just over the trees really
it'll
can
get you.
blind you.
Yeah.
I'm the guy going 40 on this, back FM road that's like 55. And people are behind me honking the horn, but I can't see.
Well, you're old, John. I mean,
I am old.
Cooper just said I'm the youngest and I'm asking for help. Yeah,
From the old guys,
sometimes
yeah.
I have the memory of a goldfish.
Anyway,
Anyway,
absolutely, we'll have Shady Rays in place for spring training.
Yeah.
You need sunglasses in Arizona.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another bright place, like that sky, no clouds, and it's a high sky, as they said in Oakland. High sky.
Yeah, it's rough. So,
yeah. All right, so the everybody's duration playing in Oakland is done, but the Rangers played, or I should say won, more games there than any other visiting franchise.
Correct.
One of the reasons that they were the final franchise to play a series there, it's telling, I think, actually, that it was the Yankees and then the Rangers. When Globe Life Park closed, the Yankees were the final series. And I do remember thinking at the time, geez, we'd have sold out the Yankees series anyway. They should have put somebody else in for that last series because that one was about to sell out as well. But Major League Baseball tries to give you an opponent that is significant to be the final opponent. And the Yankees were the penultimate opponent against these Oakland Athletics, and then the Rangers were last. And it was a good series. Today, as Jeff mentioned, it was a great game. It was fun to watch. And we've had Jeff's done 100 games there. I've probably done 50. We've had so much fun watching Rangers succeed there, Abs.
Right, and they have done that 203 times, which is the most by a visiting team.
Yeah.
Could have been 204 today, but I'm going to be honest, fellas. I think that the Athletics needed that win more than the Rangers did. Just kind of scrolling through social media on the show, it's just really cool. There's a lot of emotions with fans. But let's take a look at the all-time batting leaders for the Rangers at the Oakland Coliseum. And look at this, guys. These are some fellas that you guys have been fortunate to spend a lot of time with. Michael Young leads in games, hits, extra base hits, doubles, RBI, and runs. Juan Gonzalez leads in home runs, which, by the way, Adolis Garcia is the final home run at the Oakland Coliseum.
Yes, he is.
From yesterday's
Last night.
game, since
Yeah.
nobody homered
That's right,
today.
yeah.
And then old Elvis with stolen bases. So those are some big moments for Rangers, organization, and you guys were there for a lot of it, I imagine.
And you can add a season and a half to Elvis's total because he
Right,
played
because he
for
played
the
there.
A's.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I'm sure, I doubt he got, obviously in Oakland franchise history, Campaneris and Ricky Henderson.
Yeah.
For sure take the cake there. But if you add up Elvis's road steals and his home steals, maybe he's up
Gets
there.
him on the list.
Yeah, sure.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And Juan Gonzalez was that guy with that just rare power that could power it out of that ballpark day or night. That guy was such a strong and powerful hitter. It was really fun to watch Juan Gonzalez hit those bombs at Oakland especially into that night sky, when so often the night sky in Oakland is the place that high fly balls go to die, but not with Juan Gonzalez, man. He would power those things out of that ballpark, and it was great. And of course, Michael Young, it's not surprising that Michael leads all those categories in Oakland, because he leads all those categories in the franchise.
Rangers, yeah.
Pretty much. I would bet we'd go to every stadium and that the Rangers have played it, and Michael leads in all those categories.
Probably. You're probably right on the money on that one.
Yeah. So, but again, it's been super fun to watch all of those guys, and really Rangers teams for a long, long time play in Oakland. And again, it goes all the way back to Jim Bibby, throwing a no-hitter in one of the worst Rangers seasons in history, a season from hell, as the book so aptly points out, and he had a no-hitter during that 73 season. So there have been some wonderful moments there. And speaking of Ricky Henderson, I do love the tie to Ricky Henderson. One's eluding me. I'm remembering one, though, when he set the record for stolen bases, May 1st of 1991. And he set the record at the time, 939 steals, passing Lou Brock. And he, in those days, especially, man, to be the lead on the nighttime edition of SportsCenter, that was a big deal. And he was set to be the lead, man. He was the steals leader. And that night, 43 43-year-old Nolan Ryan, 44-year-old at that point. 44-year-old Nolan Ryan pitched his 7th no-hitter at Arlington Stadium and knocked Rickey Henderson right out of that lead spot. And I'm pretty sure Rickey had some accomplishment when Nolan got his 5,000th strikeout.
Rickey was the 5,000th strikeout.
Oh, he was. That's what it was.
wow.
I knew there was. I knew there was a tie there. So Nolan was just dumping on Rickey every chance he got. And that was kind of funny too. So, but yeah, some moments to remember regarding the Rays, rather the Angels. They're next. The A's and the Rangers.
Yeah.
How am I doing?
I
Well,
love it.
you know, we talked about the Angels series, and I don't know if we want to get into it a little bit later, but you know, that ballpark is just a few years older than Oakland Coliseum.
Right. Yeah.
And there's a movement. They're trying to get a new ballpark built,
Sure.
and they're kind of running into the same issues with the city, and there's a scandal and all that stuff. I think there's some lawsuits going around, but you know, Artie Moreno wants a new ballpark as well. I don't think that they're going to be relocating anytime soon. I've never heard anything about that, but that ballpark has been updated. You know,
It has.
They keep they've updated the concessions and the concourses, and they put the rock pile out there and all of those things. So they've tried to keep it up to date. They built the club just behind home plate, sacrificing what was probably the best press box in the game there, or Houston, which the same thing happened in Houston, Colorado too. You know, the media can just move wherever they want. You know, we need the
Long as
space
they're in the ballpark.
for a club.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that you know the next. Okay, so Fenway and Wrigley are the oldest, maybe not in that order, and then Dodger Stadium and Angel Stadium, and then Oakland Coliseum. So 3 of the 5 are in California, where it's not easy to get public funding for ballparks. And you know, but the other 2 venues have done a good job of keeping things, freshening things up.
Yeah, and to your point, when we talk about revenue streams, that club was a revenue stream. The other thing that they did there, and I don't even understand how they did it, but they were the first ones I know of in Major League Baseball that had those dugout suites. And you know, if you watch and you see Scott Boras on that camera right behind home,
Right.
you know, the shot from center field that shows the batter, and Scott Boras is in that suite, and that is, you know, they have suites all the way around just behind home plate, like they have at Globe Life Field and like they have at so many places now, but they retrofit dugout suites into that old stadium. That the thing is, if you walk around that place, man, it is all concrete. Everywhere you concrete. It's just concrete. You can't get a cell signal from the middle of that place if your life
That's
depends
ideal.
upon it.
That's ideal.
Yeah, right? That is good. That's not bad. So anyway, they did update it. They renovated it. It is not a bad place to go for media or for other players. Their clubhouses have been renovated beautifully. And so, yeah, they put a lot of money into it. But I don't blame them for wanting a new one. It was built and opened in '61.
Yeah, it's very old, and it doesn't show the age that the Oakland Coliseum does. And
No.
so you know, there's a little give. You know, hey, let's update the park. Let's try and make it a revenue stream. You know,
Right.
and get fans in there, and fans who want to come in out of town. Maybe they're tired of Disneyland and want to slip over and watch an Angels game. You know, these. First of all, these construction projects are public works deals. They create jobs. They keep tax revenue in the town. I mean, Arlington has been a very good steward and recognizes that the Rangers make them money and the Cowboys make them money. And you know, I think the Cowboys quickly paid back their loan from the city. And then look at the other events that come in. The NCAA championship game, the Cotton Bowl plays, all those different things. So it's anyway.
hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. And to your point, the ballpark in Arlington paid back its loan, or its, whatever from the city. It paid back its debt to the city about 7 years early. And I know that, AT&T Stadium did the same. You can expect that Globe Life Field will do the same thing too. So, it's a win-win, no doubt about that, for the city of Arlington. And look, there's plenty of us who wish all of them were in downtown Dallas. There's nothing like a downtown ballpark, but they're not. Yep. And so we appreciate, actually, that the fact that they're in Arlington. I love the fact that you're out there and it's easy to get to and from either side of the Metroplex. There's a lot to like about where our stadia are where they live. So we got more coming up. We're going to get to our batting cleanup as we clean up these messes in Major League Baseball. But first, Abs, we'd like our friends to become our best friends. Yeah.
Aw, that was cute. We've got a good little team
thing going, don't we?
There we go. All right, upgrade your fandom today. Why? Because Jeff has started putting things behind the paywall. And Jeff had, the most viewed paywall piece?
That's right.
So we have the greatest writer ever to my right. And it's going to be seriously fun, though, because we are going to have so many events. And when you become a diehard, you can get 20% off of the events. You also get a free t-shirt when signing up. You get access to our premium level content. Like I said, you get 20% off of merchandise. You get a Die Hard member card, which is pretty nifty. You just want to flash that out and be a little special. And then there's a Discord lounge that you guys can communicate with each other, so you guys can be best friends with each other. So we're going to have events coming soon, such as hopefully spring training. It's not set in stone, but it is #1 on our Christmas list. So become a diehard today at alldlls.com.
And since you're going to be a diehard, you want to look the part. You're going to get a free shirt with your membership every year. And why stop at one? I've got 3 coming from store.allcitynetwork.com. It's the home for our merch. Every team we cover has shirts. Even SMU, who we don't cover yet, but plan to soon, has a shirt. If you want to do that, University of Texas, that's in the works too, has a shirt. But it's not just shirts; it's sweatshirts. Pre-order still going on. I believe shipments started out this week, so I'm excited about that. I'm looking forward to repping the stuff here for you guys to see, and then we hope that you guys will wear it to our events that Abby was just talking about, or just wear it out on the street so we can see you, stop you, take a picture with you, do a secret handshake, whatever it takes. So go to store.allcitynetwork.com.
All of the things.
We might need to invent like one of those secret handshakes, like the players do.
Right.
And I will say this: it amazes me, and you, as having been a cheerleader and stuff, may understand all the different moves better. But I see guys like go into the dugout after a home run. And
they're so
like
good
a Leote,
They're so good at it.
He has a different
with every
handshake
single
for
person.
everybody. So he knows with this guy that it's this, that,
The Mavericks,
that. Right.
I mean, I'm sure other basketball players are like that, but it seems like basketball is the best
Sure,
at it.
yeah.
And they're the quickest to make it up. One time Shamgod was like, hey, let's make up a handshake. And I was like, okay. And I'm like, sprinkler? I don't know. And he came up with this 7-minute thing. And I was like, yeah, I'll never do that.
I don't know if I'll remember that. Yeah, that'd be my thing.
But you know who I bet has a handshake? The Detroit Tigers.
They have to.
The
won again.
Tigers are hot. They have swept. They swept Tampa Bay, and also we'll talk about another sweep in a second of the Chicago White Sox, which is hilarious because they will be battling it out.
Tigers and White Sox coming up this weekend.
The hottest teams in the AL Central.
Right, as of late. But all right, get this. So the Tigers have a 91.2% chance of making it to the playoffs this year. As far as the American League, and then the Royals, then the Twins. National League, it's the Mets, 77, Braves, 62, Diamondbacks, 60. But the Mariners are officially out of it today. So clap for the AL West.
So celebrate if you are
Yeah.
if you were one to do that.
So inclined.
That,
yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Tigers keep winning, and you know what? So do the White Sox.
And so do the Royals, interestingly. The Royals got another victory today. The Tigers can't gain, and they need a game over the Royals in order to secure the because they don't have the tiebreaker with Kansas City. But, whichever. As long as it's the Tigers and the Royals in there for my money at this point, I don't care which order.
And you know who keeps losing?
The Angels.
The Angels, 96.
Yeah.
It's a franchise record. 96 losses.
96 losses.
Poor
That's
Wash.
terrible.
And the thing is, if they don't take 2 out of 3 from the Rangers this weekend, they will have the most losses at home in Major League history. Right now it's 59, and they will have 60 unless they win 2 more games.
Gosh,
So.
it's that's tough for Wash. I'm starting to worry about his status for next year, especially after getting swept by the White Sox. Not a good look, and I guess I saw something where something he said wasn't taken the right way. He said that he hasn't been provided with big league players, and he had to come back and say they're not big league players right now. They can grow into them, but right now, he has the youngest team in baseball, and that's by design. He's Artie Moreno's handpicked choice last year. Perry Manassian, who the family has ties with Wash, so hopefully he's back next year because he's put in a lot of work. They're trying to teach some young guys on the fly how to be big league ball players, and it's not easy. And then they played pretty much the whole season without Mike Trout, which doesn't help. They traded away what they could at the trade deadline, so it's gotten worse and worse. But this is definitely probably rock bottom for them. But hopefully, when they
the only way to go is up.
Hopefully, when they do the season breakdown at the end, they throw their support behind Wash, and because he still is passionate about the game and has a lot to teach these young guys.
Yeah,
I think they will.
I do too.
It's just
that
first
1 year.
in.
They can't think 1 year is enough of a sample size with him.
Right.
That said, Artie Moreno has done that kind of thing before. Who'd they bring
Brad
in?
Ausmus.
Ausmus right after, and that was a 1 year deal, wasn't
Right,
he? He even
right.
make it 1.
Boy, he might not have.
Yeah, I mean, and he was right after Socha?
He was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the that's the sort of the MO sometimes with Artie Moreno. It gets impatient and just a little bit indecisive, if you will. But I think the Perry Manassian tie is a good one. Because again, the Manassian family, of course, Zach Perry's dad was the traveling coordinator for the Rangers for years and years and years.
Clubhouse guy, yeah.
Clubhouse guy, yeah.
Well, another game to keep your eye on will be the Yankees and the Orioles tonight, because for the 3rd straight day, the Yankees can clinch the AL East and get the first round bye with a victory over the Royals. It's going to be a pretty good pitching matchup tonight for the Yankees. They've got Garrett Cole on the mound and then Corbin Burns.
Oh, that is
So
good.
Yeah, that is
that'll
a good
be a pretty good
matchup.
matchup.
Yeah.
And Baltimore can assure themselves no worse than the number 4 seed if they do win in the Bronx tonight. So the Yankees number is 1, and they will host the Pittsburgh Pirates this weekend. The Tigers number is 2. So a lot of wild card math.
Well,
going on
and
right
and
now.
here's the other wild card. The National League wild card is wild as Hurricane Helene has already begun just in advance of the hurricane. There was some torrential rain in Atlanta. Yesterday they canceled last night's game and today's game, knowing that they weren't going to be able to play either one. And that's the Mets against the Braves. And those are the 2 teams battling it out. So it looks like on Monday they will play a doubleheader to decide which of them goes to the playoffs. It depends a little bit on what happens this weekend in the series that they play. But that's even more dramatic and more difficult than game 163. Right? I mean, that is, 2 games on the day before the next day, or even a day after, you'd be playing a playoff game.
The Diamondbacks, if they can play a hand in it too. If they are if they get eliminated from postseason contention, then there's talk that maybe those Braves Mets games may not be played. You know, and keeping a schedule is the big thing here, and with the postseason, because there's a lot of money involved, and you want to get it done and not within the TV window. This is money that is straight to the owners pretty much.
Yep.
And so they want to keep everything on schedule and keep everybody happy. So it's a potential scheduling nightmare to, maybe a team will have to go across country, play a doubleheader and then ship across country and play. I mean, it's a
Not
potential
easy.
disaster coming up. Yeah.
No, nothing easy about it. That surely is chaos. So, that's one of the things happening in Major League Baseball right now. And we already talked about the White Sox. Well, maybe what we didn't mention with regard to their little winning streak, their magic or tragic number is 1.
Yeah.
If they lose 1 game, then they will surpass the record for futility in Major League
I think
Baseball.
the fear of the Lord is in the Chicago
Can
White
you
Sox.
imagine? We were talking during the game. I'd be mad if I was a fan. I'd be like, well, where was all this when earlier in the season, all of a sudden you can reel off 6 straight wins? There were months they didn't win 6 games.
So I was scrolling on Twitter, and a fan proposed to another fan, like during the night that the White Sox were on pace to become, like the worst team ever. Is that like a sign from God?
Yeah.
I'm so curious to know if she said yes or no, because I would take that as a sign from the Lord himself. Like, let's rethink.
Yeah, we might not want to redo it. But they didn't lose.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, the odds were not in their favor to win that game.
Yeah.
So what would you do, Abby, if your
Me?
future beau proposed at a game?
Well, first we got to get there.
Well, I'm
So,
just saying. My wife told me that if I had done that, she would have said
hypothetically, I'd probably say no, thank you.
she would have said no.
Yeah.
My wife would have been outraged. And
There's other places,
Yeah.
Did you even consider it?
Shit, no. Pardon me. I did not consider that. I did propose to her, however, during a game that was on television. It's probably the worst proposal in the history of marriage proposals, but there was a game playing in the background when I proposed. Yeah.
Romantic. Yeah.
I was real romantic.
Yeah.
And how many
good.
years later now?
What is it? 15 years? 16.
all you
16.
need,
We're at
folks.
16. 16
All
this
you
year.
need
so.
to be happy.
Yeah. It's fantastic. So, fun weekend in baseball coming up, no doubt about it, with lots of things to keep your eye on. And, of course, then the playoffs begin, and that's when things really, really get fun. Look, we've already got a situation where we play baseball into November, and so that's the point that Jeff's making about these schedules. You have to have, the time
Competitive
everything
baseball?
has to click,
Competitive baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. We've got at least one more month.
I mean, it's almost like, the hypothetical situation of like Scooble was technically supposed to pitch on
Yeah.
the last day.
Yep.
And what was the other? Oh, Garrett Crochet.
Yeah, they've moved him back to start. The White Sox intentionally pushed him back to start
To
this
face
game.
the Tigers.
To face the Tigers, kind of the
Honor
upholding the
the
integrity
ropes.
of the pennant race. Every team has to try. You don't want to adversely affect the outcome of who makes the playoffs and not. So the White Sox are throwing their best guy at the Tigers, and I think it's great.
I do too.
It's a good thing.
I didn't think of it this way, but that might be another nail in Wash's coffin. The White Sox thought they could beat the Angels without Crochet.
Dadgummit.
That's true.
Good gosh.
That's true. Hey,
That's
guys, a
bad.
fun fact. The Rangers have played in 6 ballpark finales.
Oh,
Did you know that?
does that include their own?
Yes.
Okay.
All right,
And-
so theirs and Oakland.
Oh, I mean, we got a long list.
Not.
So 3 of theirs.
Oh,
Yeah.
all 3 of the.
There
I
are
see.
3.
All 3 of theirs. I see. Okay. Yeah.
So then Oakland.
Or 2 of theirs and Oakland, right? Just.
Well, yeah, they're really
Arlington
close to
Stadium and-
ballparks.
yeah.
Minnesota,
Oh,
Kansas
they
City.
were the last Minnesota.
Oh, they were the last game in
I do
Minnesota.
not remember that.
Well,
'cause
it
I
was
would've
in
been there.
1961.
Oh, that
Oh,
one.
okay.
Oh, geez, that wasn't even the
Minnesota,
Met.
Kansas
That
City,
was
Kansas City, Seattle. Well, yeah.
The last
Oh,
of
so the
Kingdom.
Kansas City must have been the Kansas City Athletic. No, because we didn't have a team
When was
then.
that?
That was
Kansas City?
67. And the Rangers didn't have
Well,
a team
then
yet.
they were the Senators.
We'll
Maybe
take a
it
look
was
at this
the
list
Oh, the
afterwards.
Senators.
But anyway, the Rangers
So
were
the
in
Senators
6
must have. And of course,
ballpark
we mentioned it briefly
finales.
earlier, but the Senators' final game had to be forfeited. Of course, the traditional forfeit score is 9-0, and the Senators actually had the lead in that game against the New York Yankees on the last game at RFK. and the crowd came onto the field early, and they wouldn't leave. And despite the pleading of the PA announcer and the teams and all that, they wouldn't leave. So the Senators had to forfeit that game. Yankees win by an official score. It's just the way you do it in a forfeit, 9-0.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. So, there have been a lot of those sort of last game scenarios for these teams. And I'm really glad for the people of Oakland and really glad for the A's organization that there hasn't been anything, to mar, at least not the in-stadium portion. Now, who knows what's going to happen outside in downtown Oakland or wherever. I hope nothing. But at least the part in the stadium, there was decorum and there was peace.
There was.
Yeah.
And one good thing possibly from today, if the Rangers had to sacrifice a win for the Cowboys, maybe they did.
Maybe they did.
Because they're playing the Giants.
I gotta think the Cowboys can beat the Giants, but we know this, and we don't want to morph into a Cowboy show. But we know this.
There's one coming up.
There is. There'll be one right here in just a few minutes. But the Giants can run the football, and if the first couple of games are any indication, the Cowboys can't stop the run. So
one of my sleeper picks for tonight, I took the what's his name, Singleton or Singletary to rush for more than 61 yards.
Yeah.
I just feel like because the Cowboys can't stop the run.
Probably a given.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. All right. That's going to do it for us. Man, we appreciate you hanging out with us. It was fun for us to be a part, in a way, of a historic game. History made in Oakland, California today as the Rangers and the Athletics say goodbye to the Coliseum. Next year, it'll be Sacramento, and who knows, perhaps Las Vegas after that. But for now, the Oakland portion of Major League Baseball is over. And so for the Prophet and J-Dub and Abs, I'm Rads, and we appreciate you joining us. We will see you next time on the DLLS Rangers podcast.
Stay classy.
We all silly like the mayor.